President Emerson Mnangagwa is going to be holding a major rally of the ruling party as a kick-off to the impending by-elections of 26 March, which we are giving as a mini by-election, a dress rehearsal of the harmonized elections coming, national elections, the harmonized national elections coming in 2023. So we are taking this as a major event of the party, and we are pulling all stops to make sure that the communion between the president and the people of Epworth, the communion between the president and the urban populace of Zimbabwe, and indeed the communion between the president and the general public of this beautiful country will have the resonance and significance it deserves. I want to start by appraising you and also hailing the president for a very successful foray onto the African stage. Once again, the African Union, he just came back from Addis Ababa, where he had very, very successful engagements at multilateral level, but also at bilateral level, putting Zimbabwe firmly on the African map. Zimbabwe is proud of its African roots. We are born of the efforts of the African Union, its predecessor organization, the Organization of African Unity. And the president, as a young man, was one of the pioneer beneficiaries of the African Union getting engaged in the liberation process of Southern Africa. He was young, with many others who are not around today. They took faith, they put their faith in Africa at that particular time, and their faith was not displaced. And today, as a survivor, one of the lone survivors of that early period of engagement of the African Union with the liberation process of Zimbabwe in particular and Southern Africa in general, he is there now as a statesman, marking the long march which he has passed between the 1960s and today, where the whole of Southern Africa is now a free and active participant on the global stage in African affairs, without apartheid, without racism, without settler minority rule, and without colonial imperial rule. So it's really, and it was an important occasion for our president to go back again to the African stage, to champion the cause of Pan-Africanism and to relate to his colleagues, but also to relate with the others from other continents who feel that the progress of Africa is their agenda. The big success was the return of Zimbabwe to the African Security Council. We've just been there about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We were very much involved in the formation of the African Security Council so that we can pursue the goal of peace on the African continent, so that the continent can be given a chance to develop, so that young people can be given hope again on the prospects of Africa. And the fact that Zimbabwe is going back speaks volumes about the trust and confidence which Africa is placing on the Second Republic. Our president acquitted himself very well in this role of statesman, and we are not surprised. The main thing being that the foundation which is built at home in a short 3 years of the Second Republic makes Africa be proud that Zimbabwe, a country which has been chastised for more than 2 decades, which the West has tried to make a pariah state, which the West has sanctioned, which the West continues to sanction, a country where the West sponsors a compromised opposition rather than a genuine African opposition, continues to outlive the machinations of its detractors. So his presence in Addis Ababa was a cause for joy, of celebration by his fellow African colleagues. And the invitation, the election of Zimbabwe to the African Security Council speaks volumes about the fact that they are confident of the domestic processes, the domestic programs, which are making Zimbabwe stand on a very, very firm foundation to play its rightful role in the evolution of African politics. So we hail the President for this achievement of the Second Republic. I want to address, by digression, the announcement which was made yesterday by the Minister of Finance concerning the teachers. We are very happy that Minister Mule went to the national audience to tell the Zimbabwean people that Zimbabwe is always live to the welfare and the plight and welfare of the teaching profession. I was talking to a Mozambican colleague just a few days ago. It's a matter of history that education has always been one of the top 3 items of Zimbabwe's budget since independence. So when we have this achievement where we are top on the African continent in education, we are the last born, the second last born, maybe the third last born, let me be fair to history. South Africa is the last born, Namibia is the second last born. We are the third last born on the African continent. Only 40 years ago we became what we are today, just over 40 years ago. But our sterling achievement in education reverberates not only on the African continent, but on the globe. There is a scramble for Zimbabwean students by world-class universities all over the world, because they know the product which comes from Zimbabwe is good. There is a scramble for Zimbabwean professionals in every field on the global market. The Zimbabwean professional, the Zimbabwean educated professional is as convertible as the US dollar on the global market. No matter which market, which country you go to, they earn the hard currency of those countries because they are good. This speaks volumes of our achievement of Zimbabwe and its dedication to education. And at the core of that dedication to education is the welfare of the teacher, who has produced such a good product. People may recall that in the 1980s, when we were building schools, parents were building schools at a frenetic pace, and the reward being a teacher. The government would not supply enough teachers to parents building schools in rural areas, encouraged by the war veterans that we promised education to people, we will get education. The budget was short. We said to the government, dedicate the budget to teachers' salaries, all of it. Parents are going to build the infrastructure of education. Can you imagine that contribution to the GDP of the country, which we did? We were short of teachers even in that process. You know how we solved it? As part of the revolution, we went back to Havana, we went to Comrade Fidel Castro, the late, and we said, can you convert our former military camps into teacher training colleges? Oops. In a short period, we had 7,000 teachers coming out of Cuba to come and join their colleagues here, and we closed the gap between the parents building schools and the government supplying teachers. I am giving you this background so that you understand how we have achieved the status of being the most educated African country, even though we are third last born on the continent. This speaks volumes about what Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwe Revolution thinks about education as the most dynamic force of change in society. Why am I saying this? There are people who are now coming into the Zimbabwean educational system. They want to be champions of the cause of the welfare of the teachers. And they want to hijack the vagaries which we have faced because of a sanctioned economy and because of an economy which was surprised, where we were not able to be as much capable of taking the welfare of the teacher as we should have been, because the general economy was down. They now want to use the gap which may have arisen for other nefarious ends. They tried regime change, through the party, the MDC, which has now become CCC, Chamisa Chete, it didn't work. Now they are using any grievance which may arise in society to try to drive their regime change agenda. They are running short of ideas. We are very confident that the teaching profession of Zimbabwe, which knows the history of this country, which has produced such a good product, and which continues to work so hard to make Zimbabwe remain at the pinnacle of education in Africa, they will not be waylaid. And with the intervention which the Minister of Finance announced yesterday, they used it, not bring it out, two of his colleagues were also there, the Minister of Welfare, Comrade Mavima, and the Minister of Education, Comrade Love. They were both there. We are very confident that this gesture, which is coming from the government, will throw goodwill to the teaching profession, to the generality of the teaching profession, and it will marginalize those elements, those trade unions, which are being sponsored as a proxy to a failed opposition. They are being tempted to fill the gap of a failed opposition, of a failing opposition, and we know that genuine pupil-loving teachers of Zimbabwe in that profession will not be taken away by these later-day people who want to become saviors of the teaching profession in Zimbabwe. We are very confident that they will be marginalized, but more important, the government, President Mnangagwa, will continue to devote the same attention which ZANU-PF has given to the educational field, as I have indicated, where the budget of education has consistently been one of the top 3 items of the Zimbabwean government, of the ZANU-PF, as the ruling party of Zimbabwe. So we stand on the laurels of our achievement. We have a record. These people who are trying to mislead the teaching profession, they have no record at all, except for themselves as being recipients of brown envelopes from countries which, for your own information, in 1980, when we said we want universal education, the Western countries refused universal education for Zimbabwe. They say the budget cannot support universal education. You can't do that. You are wasting money due to resources. Your country is coming out of war, and you have absolutely no capacity to do that. And we told the Minister of Finance then, to say, tell those countries to go to hell. We are going to provide universal education. If there is no money, you pay that money to the teachers. We will organize the parents to build the schools. And all of you, if you ask your parents in rural areas, every village was building a school. And the reward was a teacher from Harare. Those countries that said it's not possible to achieve education for all, to provide education for all, because they want Africa to remain ignorant. They did it in the colonial era. They never supported the education of Africa. In fact, it was missionaries who supported higher education in Zimbabwe, not those countries. Now they want to come and become champions of the teaching profession in Zimbabwe. No. We don't accept it as the part of the Zimbabwe revolution. They are also keen to poach our professionals from every aspect because they've got better living standards than us, but they don't want to come and invest in the education of Zimbabwe. So their history is bad. Their record is bad. They didn't want Zimbabwe to achieve universal education. We did it our own way, as Frank Sinatra, if you are not of the older generation. Zimbabwe did it its own way against them. So the message from ZANU-PF is that President Mnangagwa is seized with the welfare of the teaching profession. We are genuinely going to engage with well-meaning trade unions in the teaching profession to move the agenda of the welfare of the teachers forward, because if their welfare is good, they will provide good quality instruction to the pupils. Then Zimbabwe's pupils will continue to shine as they are doing on the global market. So we have a vested interest to make sure that as the economy improves, attention is given to this very, very important profession. Coming back to the rally on Saturday, it is an important event because it signals ZANU-PF coming into the urban areas, which have been the subject of total neglect by the opposition, which, by the way, constitutionally is the one which is responsible for the running of the cities. There is a clear constitutional separation of the responsibilities of the central government at national level and those of local authorities at city and town level. So for 2 decades, the MTC has been the ruling party in urban areas. They had a chance to prove what they profess to be, that we're a part of excellence, by making sure that the urban areas become the shining stars of what an opposition can do in terms of its capabilities to show to the people of Zimbabwe that urban areas are habitable, that urban areas provide jobs, that urban areas provide healthy for a healthy working environment, and that the urban areas are the pointer to modern development of any society. Urbanization is the trend of development in any country. So for 2 decades, the opposition had a chance to prove to anybody that they are worth as a part of government. That was a crucible for them to show their mettle as a part of government. Unfortunately, they have only one agenda in their mind, which is that we want to go to State House. They forgot that the city house would also have been a stepping stone by them to convince the voter of their capabilities to run the national economy. They forgot that completely. They were fixated with one idea. They neglected their current responsibilities to run cities. As a result, 2 decades later, cities are cesspits of human misery. No jobs. We have people just moving into urban areas, into sprawling settlements without any infrastructure provided. We have decaying infrastructure from the colonial era where the MTC is not bothered. They don't even probably know the maps of the pipes which carry sewage and water in this country. They don't even know where they are. They are not bothered. And this colonial era infrastructure, which was designed for a population probably 1/3 or even less of the present population, is now being burdened by supporting over probably 1 to 2 million people, especially in Harare and Chitubiza. And a party which has been in charge has absolutely no clue as to what it should have done or it should do about the urban infrastructure. Now, that party aspires to go to State House, and it wants to aspire to go there by the vote. But the vote emanates from how you care for the people. Now, the people have seen them for what they are. I want to give you an example. The budget of Harare is bigger than that of Malawi. So, Chamisa would have been actually in the position of being President Chakwera, running a budget of that magnitude. And he would have had an opportunity to show that the city of Harare is an example, a shining city of how the MTC can perform. Alas, he has nothing to show for it except Irajeji. irajeje, because irajeje of somebody who is trying to make things work. You don't care about the potholes on which you know, when the cyclone threatens from Mozambique, our cars turn into boats. You have to pedal your car in order to go from A to B. So all the cars of Zimbabwe become boats because roads become streams. And the MTC is in charge of those roads. They've disappeared, roads have disappeared. They've become, cars sink into potholes. You actually need a crane to come and lift your car out of a pothole. And the MTC is in charge. There's no running water in this town. People go to boreholes and wells. There's sewage all over the place. Young people swim through sewage as they go to school. And the MTC is in charge of those urban authorities. Garbage, pillows. The people's houses use garbage. They have garbage dumps as their pillows. You come out to the smell of garbage. And the MTC is in charge. They have no sense of responsibility. You ask them, they point the finger at the central government. But the central government is there by election. You are there by election. You promised people that if you vote for me, I'm going to take care of your welfare. Now you are in charge after the vote, because the vote makes you accountable. You now refuse to be accountable for that vote. You will now say the central government is to blame. So why did you canvass for the vote if you knew that you were not going to be in charge? If you are so neutered as administrators of towns, why do you lie to the voter that if you vote for me, I'm going to fix your condition? So they are liars. That's why when they get into power, all they can do is allocate land. Every piece of land which would have been used for other things, for recreation in this city, has been occupied, and people are collecting money, as if that is the purpose of the MTC. No, the purpose is to make Harare habitat, to make Harare a destination of investment. In 2 decades, and particularly in the last 3 years, Chamisa, I've never seen him with a businessman. Not one day have I seen him with a businessman. But you all know that businessmen are the people who develop, who put investment, local and foreign businessmen. Chamisa does not stand with any one of them. If he flaunts a picture, he flaunts a picture of the American congressmen who are putting sanctions on Zimbabwe. Not with a businessman. In the meantime, look at President E.D. Mnangagwa in 3 years. He is daily holding a scissors, cutting ribbons of projects which are being executed by ZANU-PF, of factories which are being opened by ZANU-PF. We have Varun, perhaps it has taken 80% of the market. They engaged President Mnangagwa soon after the Second Republic. They now have 8 production lines, Varun, and they've gone into plastic. And each time the chairman of Varun, a billionaire from India, comes into Zimbabwe, the president has an audience for him. They're exchanging notes on how investment can be tweaked so that the factory can grow, so that it can provide employment, jobs for Zimbabwean people, it can provide a service, goods and services to the Zimbabwean people. And now everybody has got a tuck shop, even on a trolley selling Pepsi. They've cleaned the market from their opposition. This is a president who cares about the welfare of Zimbabwean people in urban areas, because caring for them means jobs, means water, means electricity, means roads, means businessmen who make a town. Because a town is not a place of habitation. A town is a place of producing goods in an industrial manner, where factories churn out goods for the market. That's what a town is. That was lost to the MTC completely. They don't know what a town's purpose is. Now you want that party to say that will be the part of the government. No. I'm giving you this perspective so you understand why the rally on Saturday is very important. It is a signal by our president that he cares for the urban voter. hapana anofana kusara. He cares for the urban constituency. Hapana anofana kusara under the dispensation. So we have put a lot of attention into the rural area with Putza, with all the irrigation schemes, and there's palpable improvement of life in rural areas. People are happy. Granaries were filled within 3 years of him coming to power. But we cannot concentrate on urban areas, yes, on rural areas alone. Yes, as a revolutionary party which waged a guerrilla war, the rural constituency is always dear to us. They also form 80% of the Zimbabwean population, and now it's 70%. So they're an important constituency in terms of voter. We harvest voters from the rural areas. That's why we can withstand the Western pressure, because the rural people support us. But the future of Zimbabwe is urbanization. So it is natural that we should also turn the attention of the ruling party to the urban constituency. And by the way, the nationalist movement started in the urban areas in Mbare, later in Ireland, in Popoma. That's where the nationalist movement started, in Sakupa, in Mam. These are the original townships where the black nationalist movement started organizing. So we were born of the urban populace. We owe it to the urban populace to go back to them to say the revolution can deliver the prosperity which urban people deserve. And Comrade Mnangagwa, our president, has gone back to the roots of the Zimbabwe revolution, the Zimbabwe nationalist movement, which is the urban areas. That's why this rally is so important. It's a signal that ZANU-PF, with a modern, progressive development agenda, is there to turn the fortunes of the urban areas. When investors come, the first place they land is at the airport. And the airport inevitably leads into a town. So, even for tourists, that is the same. If we want to advertise Zimbabwe to the world that we are open for business, we've got to make the town a shining star. And we are determined as the Second Republic to exactly do that. The signature act of the Epworth visit will be the granting of title deeds to the existing stock of urban houses, which the people have, which have never been used, which are dead capital. We have decided as a party in this room, in the Political Bureau, and our president is championing, that we shall be giving title deeds to urban people. This is something which is a big bang. It's historical. It is as big as the land reform. It is as big as the independence, because it is a signal to urban people that since you are living in an urban setting, you need to have a history of credit on your own, because credit is one which drives a modern economy. Up to now, urban people have no title to their houses. They cannot go to the bank and borrow money. So that is dead capital. But they work very hard. The women who used to go to Joburg to do this, later the women who used to fly Air Zimbabwe and later now Ethiopian Airways to go to Guangzhou to trade, they've all built all these beautiful houses for themselves. But they are unsure about ownership because they don't have title. ZANU-PF is listening to their complaints. It is going to address their anxiety. And as we speak, drones are hovering over these settlements. GPS technicians from our special agency in the Ministry of Higher Education are busy working with satellites. I'm told confidently that by now probably 80,000 houses, stands have been mapped and given addresses. And the president will be there to give each one an address, an identity. From there, the person can go to the banking system. We are going to create the biggest mortgage bank the country has ever known since independence, simply by this act of immediate capital a new lease of life, and giving an urban Zimbabwean with a house a history of credit. Can you imagine the amount of kitchens which will be renovated after this act? Because people will be getting credit from the bank. Can you imagine the young artisans who will be fixing those kitchens? Busy, because every housewife wants a nice looking kitchen. This is what it is going to create. But even further, can you imagine somebody who has got a plot inherited from his father in a communal land? Suddenly he has got a title for the urban house, which he has been living on for the past 20, 30 or 10 years. Now he can get a loan and put 2 solar panels and a geyser. And the child can now have light when he goes to school. He comes back to do homework, the solar panel will be providing light. So the gap between the urban child and the rural child will close because of the availability of facilities which only urban people enjoy. Why? Because title has been given to a house which his father or his mother owns in the urban areas. This is going to revolutionize this economy. The debt-to-asset ratio of the Zimbabwean economy will shrink, and we will see that this country has got more assets than what the Americans or the British want to say is a single economy. I was told the other day by a certain business that says the amount of money circulating in Zimbabwe compared to India, if the Indians had as much disposable income as the ones which Zimbabweans had, I would be opening a shop every month in India. So there is money in the Zimbabwean economy, more so under the Second Republic. And we want to harness that money and put it into the banking system. Then it will change the lives of ordinary Zimbabweans. I can assure you there is palpable excitement in the banking sector. There will be a stampede to register the new title deeds by the various banks into the country. And the money in motion of the Zimbabwean economy will increase. And it will make our economy grow even faster than what the Minister of Finance and his dream team colleagues, Dr. Mangunja, have been doing to make the economy work. So this is why this rally is so important. The issue of issuing title deeds to urbanites. It will start in Harare. It will start on Saturday. The President will make special announcement and probably special programs in that direction. But we will soon be moving from township to township, where people will be given granted title deeds, not only in Harare but in Bulawayo and in other urban areas. So this rally is important. It means the party of the Zimbabwe Revolution has gone back to its roots. The nationalist movement started with the urban centers. We are going back there. There is no purpose of the Zimbabwe Revolution other than to deliver prosperity. People die in a sacrifice for war because they think that people who survive will live better. That is the only reason why people die in a war. No other reason. So if you don't deliver on prosperity, the revolution has failed. President Mnangagwa is determined to make sure that he delivers on the prosperity, so that the souls of those who died for the freedom of this country can now finally be appeased by seeing a prosperous Zimbabwe taking its rightful stage on the global market. That is the essence of my press conference. We are having a big day on Saturday, and ZANU-PF part of the revolution will be in true form, and our president, the young pioneer revolutionary, he has lived through all of it to become the president of the Republic of Zimbabwe, will be also in full mettle to say that we are fulfilling the aspirations of the Zimbabweans who died during the war, of the living Zimbabweans, and we are doing something for posterity. We are building a prosperous Zimbabwe, which will be the first African country to cross the line of being a developed state. We will make it. We will be the Singapore of Africa. So we are determined, and the rally of Saturday, focusing on the urban renewal program of SlyMedia, will be precisely centered around that message. The urban population is the driver of Vision 2030 and the dream of a middle-income nation right there. I think